Trans Am Series gets the winner to recover from a wild finale, and a popular West Coast driver goes for the ride of his life. And howdy hi there, everybody. I'm Pat Patterson here in our beautiful Charlotte studios. And Charlotte has been one of the three major hotbeds of racing this first weekend of October. The other two venues have been down in Sonoma, California, and New Orleans. We'll head to the Big Easy first. The IMSA Series, and New Orleans got a bit lucky this week as Hurricane Opal missed them, and the final race went off without a hitch today. The Exxon World Sports Cars and the GTS titles were still undecided heading into the finale, and Karen Gordon tells us who the new champions are.
In the Exxon Supreme GTS 1 division, Irv Hare rallied back from challenges by Stu Hayner's Chevy Camaro and the number 75 Nissan of Johnny O'Connell. Hare's victory clinched the 1995 Exxon Supreme GTS 1 title.
There's no better way to win a championship than to win the race. And, you know, the crew did a great job. They gave me the very best car in the race, there's no question. It would have been a shame if my car hadn't won this race today, because it was the best car in the class. Showed that in qualifying, showed it all through the week, and it would have been a real shame if I would have had to stroke it all day. So they gave me the green light there at the end and told me to go ahead and stand on it, and they got me in the lead, you know, with pit stops, and then we pulled away at the end.
In the Exxon World Sports Car category, James Weaver started the number 16 Dyson Ford from the pole, then led through the first round of pit stops. Ross Bentley put the number 43 Oldsmobile out front until he came in for routine maintenance. Weaver fell back several positions during the Dyson pit stop, putting the number 24 to Butch Leitzinger out front. Weaver worked his way back up through traffic and was pursuing the second-place number 30 Momo Ferrari for the lead. The number 30 car got sideways and Weaver passed for second. Then in the closing minutes, Weaver passed teammate Butch Leitzinger for the lead. The race ended under caution with Weaver earning his 5th victory of the season. Fermin Velez held on for 4th, enough to clinch the 1995 Exxon World Sports Car Championship.
I just can't believe it. I mean, wow, that's been probably the most difficult race all year. Well, I'm just very happy.
It was great. I mean, Rob put a couple of fabulous cars out there for Butch and I. The car was flying. You know, we couldn't have done any better than we did today. It's been a long year, and you know, there's only a couple of points in it at the end, I think. So I've got no regrets. I've had a smashing time.
And we add our congratulations to all the IMSA competitors on a great season. And now to the Trans Am finale. It was supposed to be in Dallas last month, but when that race was canceled, Sears Point took over the final position. This was a race originally set for March, but postponed because of heavy rains. With us so far, the race was seen earlier today on many of these same Prime affiliates. And Mark Allen has the story in our Rain-X Trans Am report.
Kendall does his usual fast qualifier thing, which gives him more of a points cushion and puts him 5th on the start. Morris Said is the pole sitter, but his Tom Gloy racing teammate, Dorsey Schrader, gets the jump at the green. And for the early moments of the 40-lap event, Ford is running 1, 2, and 3. This is important because if Ford can maintain it, it will win the manufacturer's title. And in Trans Am, it's more coveted than the driver's crown. This race is going to have a little bit of everything happen all through the field. There's John Gooding going for a little dipsy doodle. And how about having a windshield full of Ray Kong? Nice driving. Within 5 laps, attrition has guaranteed Kendall his 2nd driver's title. Now he can really make a run at the lead to help Ford. But what's this? An engine miss cripples him. But a little bit later, it's going to clear up all by itself. Race officials have to throw a full-course caution to clear up the tires from Dale Phelan's shunt in the first third of the day. Maybe it's the pressure from the manufacturer's chase, but SCCA officials aren't tolerating any contact this day, and Jamie Gallus will get a stop-go penalty for nailing Tony Avi. Now, when Kendall falls off the pace, Ron Fellows puts Chevy in the 3rd spot. And that's enough to clinch the Bowtie Brigade, the carmaker's crown, but there's a long way to go. Meanwhile, some trouble and some great racing. The trouble comes for Tim McAdam, who shreds a tire, and look at what this rubber chainsaw is doing. The great racing part stars Price Cobb and Rob Rizzo, who spend half the event nose to tail or side by side and never touch. Avi and Bill Saunders do make contact, and Avi's a few pounds lighter. Here's where the drama really builds. Kendall's on his way back toward the front. Then the 4th and 5th place cars of Greg Pickett and Brian Simo go around, and suddenly Kendall's up to 4th and closing. In front of him is Fellows, and remember, 3rd is all Chevy needs for the manufacturer's crown. At Elkhart Lake, Fellows got punted into the wall by the All-Sport driver. It couldn't happen again, could it? 4 laps to go, and you make the call, contact or not. Kendall's fault, Fellows' fault, whatever. Kendall's now in 3rd, and Ford is back in the catbird seat. But wait, SCCA lowers the boom on Kendall, and with 2 laps to go, he gets called down for the Fellows spin. While Ford bigwigs fulminate, mechanical gremlins make the Kendall penalty moot, as 2nd place Sid slows in the hairpin, and he won't make the finish. So in the ebb and flow of the season finale, Dorsey Schrader leads every lap to claim his 13th career win.
I can't say enough for Boris. You know, he put the battle on back there. He helped my position quite a lot, so it's a shame whatever happened to him at the end. I thought we had a 1, 2, 3 for Ford, and it breaks my heart we don't, but we won one.
The top 5 is heavily populated by Chevy, with recent final edition guest Paul Gentilozzi getting a season-best 2nd. Till Fellows and Pickett give Chevy the advertising bragging rights that are paramount here. In the final driver's standings, Kendall wins the title by 24 points, with Schrader, Simo, and Gallus rounding out the top 5. Rising Star of the Year is past on pit road preview guest Rob Rizzo, and Rookie of the Year is Price Cobb. So you see what the moral to this story is. Come see us and do great. This is Mark Allen reporting for On Pit Road.
You know, I do this show, and I don't ever win any races. I can't figure it out. Now, Mr. Kendall will join us live on October 22nd to bask in the glory of his title and talk about the future. You road racing fans will be sure to want to join us for that one. Coming up next, they put away the umbrellas and raincoats and went racing finally at Charlotte. Don't go away. To Dale Earnhardt fans, I know you don't want to, but even you have to admit that the 7-time champion isn't probably going to get that 8th championship this year. Kid Mr. Gordon is something else. In Sunday's stop at Charlotte Motor Speedway, the Rainbow Warriors had more work than they bargained for. Here's Jason Young.
The balloons fly, the cars roll, and it's welcome to Humpy World for a packed house full of fans awaiting the start of the UAW GM Quality 500. For the first time we can remember, Dale Earnhardt had to use a champion's provisional to get into the field. In the opening laps, though, it's classic Intimidator working his way to the front. Robert Presley's bid for Rookie of the Year takes a bad turn right into the wall. Presley is okay. But the man everyone is chasing is Sterling Marlin. He takes the top spot around lap 35 and then runs away from the field. Earnhardt is 2nd, Jeff Gordon is 3rd. The 3rd yellow is for oil on the track, and it's pole sitter Ricky Rudd taking the top spot out of the pits. Back underway, and it's a good thing Marlin checks up because Earnhardt is loose. No harm, and they stay right together. Caution number 4 flies for Loy Allen after Rick Mast blows an engine. During pit stops, points leader Gordon goes behind the wall with a drivetrain problem. At the same time, Ken Schrader is climbing out of the Budweiser Chevy. It's not a good day for car owner Rick Kendrick. Schrader is done. Gordon will continue a number of laps down. Then Jeff Burton goes for a slide down the front straightaway, and that orange car right in the middle is Rudd. The tied Ford gets by and he stays in the hunt. But in the final laps, maybe Hendrick Motorsports isn't having such a bad day with Terry Labonte. During the last round of pit stops, he took on 2 tires and took over the lead. But the Kellogg's driver better look behind him. That's Mark Martin moving in and taking the top spot. And that's the last lead change of the day as Mark Martin takes his 18th career win. Earnhardt gets by Labonte for 2nd with Rudd 4th and Jarrett 5th. For On Pit Road Final Edition, I'm Jason Young reporting.
Thanks, J-Man. Gordon finishes 30th and gives back 100 points to Earnhardt with 3 races to go. And look at Martin. He's only 13 behind Marlin for 3rd place. And in the news front from the series this past week, 3 Penske Racing crewmen have jumped ship and gone over to Sabco Racing, including Billy Woodruff, who will be the new crew chief. There's a little bad blood on the timing on that particular move. Ricky Craven is now part owner of the Hendrick Racing team. That secures his future for the years to come. And Elton Sawyer says the deal is nearly complete for an investor to buy the 27 car from Hooters owner Bob Brooks and keep Sawyer in that ride. And Johnny Benson is confirmed as Bahari Racing Pontiac's new driver for the next 3 years. Pennzoil continues as the sponsor, and Benson will be here in a few minutes. Actually, he's here now to talk about that. You know what I said about Earnhardt fans a few minutes ago, the same could be applied to Chad Little in the Busch Series. There are just 2 races to go after Saturday's 300, in which Johnny Benson could have wrapped it up, but he didn't. Here's Stephanie Boyd.
Just like Daytona, Chad Little has to take a provisional to make the show. Benson's starting from 7th, but it's Bobby Dotter, the surprise pole sitter and leader for the first time this year. By lap 20, Little's up to 23rd, but the lights go out on his fading hopes when Greg Sachs gets into the wall, and Chad's luck at Charlotte the past 2 years has been terrible. This is where he broke his leg and shoulder in the spring of '94. On the restart, Jeff Green and Loy Allen get together and look up high. That's Benson just squeezing by. Green flag pit stops on lap 76. Frontrunner Mark Martin's already been in. New leader Dale Jarrett's coming in when Curtis Markham mows some grass. No caution yet, but it will come out when Markham coasts to a stop. Martin and Jarrett remain on the lead lap. The gimmicky halfway break is no more, so it's still green and Martin's back in front by a good margin over Jarrett. Is the title chase over? Maybe not. Benson's third when he loses it, and he and Jimmy Spencer head to the wall. Benson's car is hurt and spends many laps in the garage. Meanwhile, Little's returned, but he's way down and not in too good a shape. Dotter's been backpedaling, and this meeting with Dover winner Johnny Rumley doesn't help the 08 driver in his search for a new sponsor next year. Martin will pit during this yellow on lap 130. Within 30 more circuits, Martin has the Winn-Dixie Ford back where he spent much of the race. In the final laps while Martin checks out, a good battle for third with the 47 of Jeff Fuller is the story. He's in a backup car after trashing his primary on Friday and needing a provisional spot. Jeff Purvis started 39th and gets the spot with 10 laps to go. At the checkers, Martin completes his domination for his second Charlotte win, with Jarrett barely in frame in the runner-up spot. Purvis holds on to third with Fuller and Mike McLaughlin next. This is Stephanie Boyd reporting for On Pit Road.
Thanks, Steph. In the points, JB's in no jeopardy here, but third did change hands. McLaughlin has taken over that spot with Green and Keller next. Meanwhile, in the Busch news, Tracy Leslie is out of the 72 car after this year 5 seasons in the Detroit gasket entry produced just 1 win. Tim Fedola will have Kleenex backing for his effort next year. And it's not official yet, but Bet the Ranch, David Green will climb into the number 95 Caterpillar-sponsored car next season. Up next, Johnny Benson pays us a visit. Final edition rolls on. Stay with us. One thing about this time of year, all the media snoops make it real hard to surprise anybody with driver changes or sponsor announcements. Johnny Benson knows all about that because since July, his name and the Bahari Racing team have often been mentioned in the same sentence. It's now official, and he's here to talk about it. Hi, how are you? Congratulations, you're going Winston Cup racing next year. Isn't that going to be fun?
Yeah, it sure is. You know, it's been hopefully, you know, a good season coming, and we just got to get through this year first.
Yeah, I noticed you were sliding out there on Saturday. What was that all about? Looked like either car got away or you got away or something happened. Tell us about it.
Well, the car wanted to go in a different direction than I wanted it to go.
Hate it when that happens, right?
We're just a little loose, and we had some good racing going, and I lost it.
So you weren't just grandstanding a little, just to tighten the points chase up, just to keep those ticket buyers happy for those last couple of races?
No, we're trying to make it exciting for the rest of the year, but you know, Lipton Team Monte Carlo's been running really good all year, and we had a good run going, you know, running third and crashed. But, you know, we're not just going to hang out and just sit here for the rest of the 2-3 races left and not go for the win. So we're going for the win, and like I say, just got away from us.
It's been a real consistent effort all year, and I mean, that's what pays the big dividends in a season-long thing. I mean, everybody talks about, you know, we'll let the points fall where they may, and let's go take it a race at a time. But you guys have come to the racetrack each and every time thinking you could win the race, and that's got to have played in your, you know, the way you guys have performed this year.
Yeah, it sure has. We've been real consistent. Steve Bird's been making some great calls on chassis setups and some race strategies. and it's just been a great year. And we didn't run Charlotte any different than we've raced every race all year, and I believe that's why we're in the points, is we're, you know, going to each track, going there to win, trying to run the best we can as fast as we can, and you know, that's why we're up there. Is we're not going to change yet. You know, there's no sense in change.
Well, it's an ideal situation as well, because unlike having a points chase where, boy, somebody's just really breathing down your neck, I mean, call it whatever you want to, but you've got a good, comfortable margin for these last couple of races. So provided everything goes smoothly, it looks like the championship is certainly within your grasp. That makes it better when you're going to make a transition to Winston Cup, so that you can begin to start to let some of that sink in and get ready to race. I mean, you're going to have everything that you need money-wise as far as all the equipment and so forth. Chuck Ryder and that group will certainly give you all the tools to get it done next year. How much testing and are you excited about this thing for next year?
Oh, we're real excited. You know, Chuck Ryder's just been so great through this whole signing business, I guess, and with Pennzoil and the whole teams. You know, they seem to be real excited, and we're real happy, you know, that things are done and announced, and now we can, you know, try to concentrate on the championship, and we're going to do some testing here real shortly, and really looking forward to that.
I know that this has been if maybe not a lifelong dream, because you always impressed me as the kind of guy that doesn't think too far out here, always concentrating on getting it done as you did in ASA and you've done with Busch Grand National, and I know you're probably not going to change that approach as you go towards Winston Cup, but certainly the butterflies and the amount of pressure that comes with running this certainly will be a new level that you're going to have to deal with.
Yeah, it sure will. You know, the Winston Cup is so competitive nowadays, and you know, Busch Grand National has been real competitive too, but that next step is just going to be so big. And you know, I think that, you know, we talked about it over Bahari Racing, and I think that everybody knows that I'm going to have a big learning curve, and I think that, you know, they're expecting that, so I think things are going to go good.
Well, again, reflective of Johnny Benson's personality, I know that you wouldn't be doing this if you didn't think you were ready, regardless of money and regardless of the situation. Do you feel ready? Can I confirm that?
Well, we hope so. We hope we're making the right choice, and I think timing is everything, and with the way we've ran the last 2 years in Busch Grand National, I've gained some experience. I don't know if it's enough. Hopefully it is, but with the team that they have, it's a great team. With the testing we're going to do, I just think that the whole package, you know, in the long run is going to be a great package, and we're really looking forward to it.
Well, I know that, you know, you're getting into a top 10 car, and I mean, that's got to be everybody's dream. And I mean, Michael Waltrip's done a good job with that car this year, and they are right there in the points and have been there all year long. So again, you know, even though the car hasn't gone to victory lane, you are going with a car that's certainly capable of winning a race on any given Sunday. And like you said, it's just a matter, I guess, of getting ready and getting used to it. Final race for you guys coming up in the Busch in just a week or so. You do anything different? You go in there the same way you've always done it, right?
We're going in there the same way. We're going down there to, you know, run the best we can, try to win that race, and hopefully things will go a little bit better than they did at Charlotte. And, you know, like I say, go to Rockingham and then to Homestead, the final. Real excited about the last race of the year at a new track. Be a new track for everybody, and we're going to be testing there this week, and, you know, hopefully we'll have a good setup. Congratulations on the Pennzoil sponsorship, and pre-congratulations on the championship. I hope everything works out like you want it to. Yeah, nice thank you, Pat. Johnny Benson. The super truck that Benson usually drives had a darn good run yesterday in the series' first true road course, Race of the Year.
This being only the second Super Truck off-road race, road race in series history, you figure there's going to be a lot of dirt kicked up as these guys try to pick up the knack for this kind of racing. Ron Hornaday and Mike Skinner the surprise front row, considering road race master Wally Dallenbach is in the field. He starts third and will pick off Skinner for second by the third lap. Second place points man Joe Ruttman is working over Steve Portengay, and how deep can you drive into a turn? Not this deep, and the truck looks more at home there than on the pavement. Mike Chase does a nice job considering these are racing slicks, and how about Bill Sedgwick doing this Dust Bowl imitation? Check this one out. That's Ray Daniels, and he's about to disappear. And look what this truck hand grenade does to the tires. He's okay, not so for the tires. This happens before halfway, and the cleanup takes until the mid-race break. When the green waves again, Ruttman and Sedgwick decide to make Walker Evans the meet, but it's the 84 truck again that gives up many positions. He'll give up a bunch more with a little help in the hairpin, and he also gets black flag, jumping a restart to complete a miserable day. Now, Dallenbach does get in front of Hornaday soon into the restart, but this lasts less than a lap, and from there, the Papa John's pizza driver pulls away as the 18 truck develops a misfire. Hornaday officially leads every lap for win number 6. Hey, take that, you road racers. Ken Allen doesn't get to the finish. At least he didn't run out of tires. Dave Resendez does. In the final rundown, Skinner takes 3rd with Scott Lagasse 4th and Toby Butler a good 5th place.
And as we head to break, there was a fatality this past Friday in the sportsman race at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Pole sitter Russell Phillips was involved in a grisly 4-car crash in which the roof of his car was sheared off from the hood up. It's the 3rd fatality in the series at Charlotte in 6 years, and our prayers are with his family and his friends. We'll be right back. The program, everybody, it's time for the first part of our weekly installment of Dirt, in which we'll head to all points of the compass. Let's start with the World of Outlaws.
The World of Outlaws trek first takes us to Bridgeport, New Jersey, where in a heat race, Brian Brittingham in the 12 and Jeff Taylor end up in the woods. In the main event, it's Danny Lasowski in the 77 getting a good jump over second place Dave Blaney in the 10 and Sammy Swindell. But just that quick, Blaney gets the Casey Luna Vibram machine by for the lead. Now it's Swindell in second, chasing the leader down, and he does it just one circuit later in the Hooters number 1. Blaney drops back, and it's the King, Steve Kinzer, now Swindell's hottest pursuer. Getting through the traffic on the 5/8 mile, Bridgeport Speedway can be tough, but Swindell's record includes 4 8-feature wins on this track, and this makes his 3rd in a row. Behind Swindell and Kinzer, it's Blaney, Lasowski, and Jeff Swindell, the rest of the top 5. Now on to the Champion Spark Plug Nationals at the Rolling Wheels Raceway in Eldridge, New York. The 4-wide side-by-side salute can mean only one thing: it's time to go racing. In racing to the lead is pole sitter Jeff Swindell, but right behind him is Kinzer in the green Quaker State number 11. They stay right together until the King uses a slower car to get by the Gold Eagle 7TW. Then on the final lap, Blaney is trying to take over the top spot when a lapped car gets in his way. That gives Kinzer the win worth $25,000. Second goes to Blaney, followed by Andy Hillenberg, Jack Hodenshield, and Stevie Smith. In the points, Blaney has a 168-point advantage over second-place Hodenshield. Completing the top 5 is Stevie Smith, Jeff Swindell, and Andy Hillenberg.
And across the country, the Northern Auto Racing Club got revved up for a big weekend of action.
With 3 races to go, Brent Kading is once again the man to beat in NARC. He's got to work a little harder after not posting a qualifying time and having to edge Greg DeCaris for the last transfer spot into the feature. The dinner conversation must have been real interesting between Bob Walker and his son Tyler. Dad gets the boot in this battle for the final transfer in another heat. In the feature, Kading is starting 18th. Chief rival Paul McMahon is 10th. 31 Brian Hodges runs over Jason McMillan, who drops out before half a lap is complete. The 5K of George Corber leads for 10 laps until he hooks up literally with Paul McMahon, and that opens the door for Glenn Bonnet to take the point and ultimately the win. In the final rundown, Bobby edges Paul in the Battle of the McMahons for second. Statler beats Lund in the Battle of the Jasons. Kading ends up 7th.
And coming up in a minute, more from the dirt, including a terrible crash for one of the West Coasters' best. Stay with us, everybody. The Sprint Car Racing Association gives the fans that dollar's worth and a whole lot more. The latest racing bargain came Saturday and again Friday night.
At Mojave Valley Raceway last Saturday night, Troy Newsom's qualifying run turns violent in turn 1. It looks bad, and Newsom is understandably shaken, but he walks to the ambulance okay. In the 30-lap feature, pole sitter J.J. Yaley takes the early lead in the number 5, followed by Steve Osling, who jumps from 4th to 2nd. The first caution of the night flies on lap 10 when Troy Klein and Ron DiDonato touch, sending the 57 spinning into the front stretch wall. Then on the restart, Osling gets the advantage when he ducks under Yaley to steal the lead. A couple of laps later, and Klein is in the middle of things again. This time he gets together with Rodney Argo and it's caution number 2. Just after the restart, sophomore sensation Corey Kruseman is trying to work his way into the top 5. He's driving the number 14 since the engine in his 45 has conked out. With 9 to go, second place Yaley spins off track and out of contention. That leaves Osling alone up front. Remember, he's the same guy who recently scored back-to-back wins after 12 years of trying to reach victory lane. He must have learned something, because he keeps his sprinter up front till the end, posting his 3rd career win in only a matter of weeks.
You know, we had a good spot to start. I knew on the first start, those guys were a little looser than I was. We had a real good first start and got around the bottom real good. And it took me a little while to figure out the bottom. You had to get in really slow. The harder you got in, the worse you were. So it was just like idle around the bottom and get going off the corner.
Points leader Ron Schumann takes second after Yaley drops out. McNovich, McSpadden, and Kruseman are next. Friday night, the Tour returned to California, where Schumann debuted a brand new car. In heat race action, 3rd place pointsman Rip Williams finds himself upside down after this contact. He's able to restart and transfer to the feature. Then J.J. Yaley is trying to earn a spot when his engine blows and lights up the night. He's okay. In the feature event, Bobby McNovich in the 2H jumps into the lead from the pole, but by lap 5, the action slows down when Rodney Argo in the 10 putters to a stop. On the restart, number 15 Leland McSpadden moves into second. Then a few laps later, Mike Kirby in the 59 enters the fray. The two drivers are battling each other and trying to challenge the leader, with McSpadden pulling off the coup as he shoots his way to the point. But a little later, and where's McSpadden? He's second to Kirby, who's now in the lead. On lap 12, it's the tangle of the yellow cars. That's Osling, Richard Harvey, and Williams, who are all able to restart. Later on lap 23, with Kirby still up front, Schumann takes the runner-up spot over McSpadden, who eventually heads to the pits with a down tire. But no one can touch the 59 car, as Kirby dominates the final half and easily goes on to claim the win. Schumann holds on to second, and third goes to Jimmy Sills. Kruseman and Williams are 4th and 5th.
Saturday night, some of the SCRA hot shoes headed for Sacramento for the USAC Western States Midgets and Silver Crown action, but this one got ugly real early.
The first of 2 shows for the Skoll USAC Midgets take them to Hanford Speedway, where front row starters Donnie Beechler and Jay Drake both want the lead, but Drake sure won't get it and goes to the rear. Johnny Kofer in the number 1 seizes the advantage on the restart and will lead Beechler and the rest. Now in the middle laps, Beechler and Kofer will keep each other busy for a while, with Kofer keeping the spot. On lap 15, Billy Boat slides under 2nd place, and Beechler slides off the track to wreck a good run. Now Boat isn't happy with 2nd, and on lap 19 he goes to the front, with Kofer messing up just a little bit too much to lose 2nd as well. Boat goes on to do what he's done 15 of the 20 Western States races this year. Sill gets 2nd, and so forth. The next night, a lot of hearts weren't in the Sacramento stop after SCRA standout Corey Kruseman is hanging on for dear life in one of the worst wrecks of the year. This is in the semi. We'll have a condition report on him in a moment. At the finish, Stewart gets the best of Boat with the next race Saturday night at Altamont Raceway Park. The Silver Crown finale is won by Donnie Beechler, who leads the final 25 laps to win $10,000. Stewart gets 2nd, and this is significant because in the final points he overtakes Dave Darland, who finished dead last and lost the championship by just 2 markers. Hewitt is close in 3rd.
Man, I have seen some wrecks, but that one takes the cake. There is some cautiously good news to report on Kruseman. He has a basal skull fracture, but no brain damage and or life-threatening injuries. He also has a badly fractured right arm that will require some reconstructive surgery later this week. A full recovery of all injuries is expected in time, and man, that is just such great news to hear. Coming up next, yellow fever in Ohio as Final Edition rolls on. Of Hooters action in Columbus got off to a slow start in the late model portion of the show.
The first thing you need to remember is that there's a full moon. They tried to start this race, but 4 drivers decided to get their bumping and shoving done before the green. This forces a complete restart. We'll show you the end of lap 1. Dick Anderson leads. Meanwhile, 4 more drivers end up aimed every which way. They get another green flag lap before this happens. See a pattern here? One more lap at speed, pole sitter John Crow passes Anderson, but that gets tossed out because of this car in the wall. These guys are among the best late model drivers in the country, honest. They actually got 5 laps in when Anderson overtakes Don Davis Jr. in the first third of the race, and there's been 5 green flag laps so far. When there is racing, some of it's pretty darned good, as points leader Mike Garvey goes high side to prove there's 2 grooves around Columbus Motor Speedway to move into 4th. It's still Anderson leading with 35 laps to go, and this incident claims third-place runner Mario Gosselin for a time, who's third in the points. He's allowed to resume his position. Once in a while, they could stay out of trouble, and the leaders put on a fine show with Crow in position to take the point, but darned if the caution doesn't come out again. They're beating and banging again the final 10 laps when, you guessed it, amazing. If it seems like there wasn't a lot of green flag racing, you're right. Now here's a good move with 4 to go. Crow tries it again, but ends up losing 2nd and ultimately 3rd and 4th. And then there's another yellow. Gosselin gets 1 shot in the final 3 laps, and Anderson can't see over his hood. But it's the 70 car of local runner and fast qualifier Fred Campbell who makes the challenge. He runs out of laps, and Anderson has his 4th win of the year and is now in a virtual tie for the points lead. Gosselin is 3rd with Garvey 4th and John Crow 5th.
Definitely an endurance cup type of event. The Formula Cup race was the same but different. Here's what I mean.
With 3 races to go, Brent Kading is once again the man to beat in NARC. He's got to work a little harder after not posting a qualifying time and having to edge Greg DeCaris for the last transfer spot into the feature. The dinner conversation must have been real interesting between Bob Walker and his son Tyler. Dad gets the boot in this battle for the final transfer in another heat. In the feature, Kading is starting 18th. Chief rival Paul McMahon is 10th. 31, Brian Hodges runs over Jason McMillan, who drops out before half a lap is complete. The 5K of George Korber leads for 10 laps until he hooks up.
And guess what? That wasn't the Formula Cup race. Figured that one right out, didn't you? Well, we'll tell you about that. That's the Northern Auto Racing Clubs. As we head to break, though, here's another installment of the Finish Line Racing School Tip of the Week for all you veteran and aspiring racers.
Hi, I'm Mike Lozier, Finish Line Racing School. This week's track tip's about safety. Even though I'm wearing a triple layer fire suit now, I've added Nomex long underwear to it. This gives me an extra 7 seconds of protection. If you're going to race, think safety. It's number 1.
Did the Formula Cup drivers learn anything watching the late model boys? Apparently not. That's Hal Corbin in his tricycle in the first corner on lap 1. Nelson Calles in the 22. 2 laps into the restart, and Marilyn McCrary's in the grass entering turn 4. No caution. Go figure. Alan May puts his outside front row spot to good use and takes off. That's quite a switch from the day before when he wrecked his own car and had to borrow a backup from another D'Agostino racing driver, John Calcutt. Calcutt's in the 45, and you've got to tip your hat at that gesture. Anthony Lazzaro is fast qualifier but draws the 7th pill, so his job is made harder. The second caution comes near mid-race when officials decide that McCrary's car is a hazard. Back at speed, and May is still on the march, but of all things, Calcutt spins on lap 70 and allows Lazzaro to close up. It gets down to the final 10 laps, and May gets too high after blistering a right rear, and the lead changes hands. That's not the 99 driver's biggest problem, as he's running out of gas. This is only a 33-mile race, and Nathan Liebert goes by for second. At the checkers, Lazzaro gets the win and retakes the series points lead as May gets 3rd. David Elliott is 4th, and Kyle Conzer 5th.
Nothing like live TV to get your face nice and red. I think we're back on track now, and let me give you that Finish Line race. Sunday's All-Pro race was 400 laps, which is one of the longest of the year, and when it was all over, it hadn't done a lot to sort out the title picture.
The last thing Slim Jim title hopefuls need is to have series points leader Hal Goodson on the front row. He leads early, but pole sitter Ron Barfield Jr. will take the spot, and that's the last time the number 16 driver is in front. This is one of the stranger wrecks of the year. Tim Steele's in the 86 car, and he's done for the day. Same time, different place, and Rick Turner's the one missing the left front wheel. The rim's there, and here's a neat twist. This is the first attempted self-mounting tire we've ever seen. It needs a little more practice. Mike Cope in the 44 needs a good finish to have any shot at retaining his series title, and he gets together with Ray Skillman. Scott Walters is also part of this early incident. A bit later, and Cope's on a rail and in the lead. No real surprise since he's won the last 2 Winchester visits. The tires are the story here. The resurfaced track is tough on rubber, and even veterans of saving tires have trouble. And talk about a can opener. That's Royce Mason for one of the 11 yellows. Vern Slaw hits the wall not once, but twice on the same lap. A cut tire, the culprit again. Finally, at the end of 400 laps, Cope's in front to take the win and second place in the points behind Goodson. Barfield takes third, with Ross and Walters both recovering from spins for top 5 finishes.
Coming up next, a virtual potpourri of action from east of the Mississippi. Stay with us. In the NARC series, and it's time to complete the trio of winged series with a look from the action from the Club All-Stars.
It's the final 4-wide salute of the year for the Club All-Stars, with $4,000 awaiting the first to complete 30 laps. Rocky Hodges gets a good jump from the outside pole to build up a nice early lead. But chomping away big chunks of real estate is Joey Saldana in the 77. Here's the first lead change on lap 8, but there's no give up in Rocky, and 3 laps later, he returns the favor. But it's monkey see, monkey do. So on the next lap, Saldana obliges by passing in a different part of the track so this doesn't look like a jump cut, which is a TV term for a bad edit. There's nothing bad about Saldana, who goes on from there to win the final event of the year. It's a bittersweet victory for car owner Art Wendt, who's selling his entire race operation. Here's a look at the final standings, with Dale Blaney winning his first championship. Defending champ Frankie Kerr, the 1994 and 93 titleist, is second, with Jacobs, Smith, and Saldana next.
And we've got a couple of races that don't quite fit into any of the previous 2 packages. We're talking about the ISMA series and the annual Oktoberfest.
Let's start with the Oktoberfest 300 at Hagerstown Speedway, where 4 different classes are in action in one day. Davey Johnson in the 1J is the driver to beat in the 100-lap late model feature. Second place Rodney Franklin won't be a problem anymore when his engine blows and barbecues his race car. That leaves Tim Hitt in the 0 to try and challenge for the lead in the final laps, but Johnson has got the field covered, leading from flag to flag for his second Oktoberfest win. Next is the 50-lap small block modified feature, where pole sitter Billy Pouch is the early leader in the M1. Behind him, there's a fierce battle for the top 5 between Frank Cozy, Richie Tobias, Doug Hoffman, and Kenny Brightbill. Brightbill is an early casualty when he has a tire go down. Then Ricky Elliott spins right in front of Hoffman, who's able to avoid him and hold on to 4th. Good thing, because on a lap 24 restart, Hoffman is right behind the leader when Pouch slides high and the 5M takes over up front, then leads the final 26 laps for a $5,000 payday. Now on to the big block modifieds, where Hoffman is once again up front, this time leading the field to the green in the number 60. But Pouch isn't about to let another one get away, and on lap 79 of 100, he gets past the leader. And despite driving with a broken arm and a cast, Pouch goes on to score his 3rd Oktoberfest win and the $10,000 that goes with it. The final race of Oktoberfest is a 50-lap super sprinter, and another $10,000 is on the line. Number 69K Donnie Kreitz is the early leader, despite a lap 1 slowdown for Todd Schaefer, who breaks. Mark Kenzer in the 5M is fresh off 3 wins in 4 nights of outlaw racing, but he can't find his way around Hagerstown and eventually drops out. Meanwhile, Dan Dietrich in the 39 has gotten past the leader, so from there on out, Kreitz and Billy Pouch are left to battle it out for second, while Dietrich goes on to score the biggest win of his career. Finally, on to the ISMA show at Oswego Speedway, which gets exciting on lap 14 when Russ Wood in the 29 passes Dave McKnight for the lead. But the number 98 driver knew the frontrunner wouldn't last long, and indeed he doesn't, as Wood is black flagged for dropping fluids 3 laps later. The race goes red with 4 laps to go when this melee starts on the backstretch, and it takes a few moments to collect all the victims, including Justin Belfiore, who's the one without the wing. He's not hurt. McKnight leads the final few laps for his second ISMA win this year. The season finale is next Saturday.
Thanks, Steph. And in just a moment, a driver on the men fills us in on his progress. Stay with us. Here, welcome back. In late April, IMSA GTS driver Steve Millen crashed hard at Road Atlanta and suffered a broken neck. He had to wear a halo for a while, but is doing nicely, and I had a chance to talk with him at the Phoenix IMSA race last weekend. It's awfully good to see you, and I think you would probably agree. It's great to be seen at a racetrack, right?
Pat, it really is. It's great to be here. I've been looking forward to this for a long time, and it's not like last year. We won the championship, but it's good to be back.
Well, it's great to see you back at the racetrack, and I know that it's great to be recuperated from the injuries. How are you feeling? And let's update everybody on what your status is these days.
I feel great. I feel very fit. I've got a lot of range of motion with my neck and so on, but the bone hasn't completely healed yet. And so I'm going to go back and get a CAT scan at the beginning of November, and hopefully the doctors will say I'm ready to go again. I started running, about a month ago, and I was in the doctors, and I said, well, I'm getting fit, I'm running again, and they said, whoa, don't do that. So they're still pretty cautious.
Anything you can tell us about as far as racing futures go? Any testing this winter that you know you're going to be able to do yet? Or where are we at as far as the racing goes right now?
We're not quite at that point yet. Until we get this whole thing all signed off, we can't really make any plans, So it's not like an arm or a leg. If it was an arm or a leg, I'd be in the car today and take the risk. But because of the nature of the brake and the position of it, it's a very, very sensitive area. So we're going to get through this first.
And Steve will be looking for work elsewhere in '96. Nissan is getting out of IMSA after 18 years in which that make won numerous races and championships. They've been great for the series and will be sorely missed. That's all the time we've got for this week, but next Sunday we'll do it all again, and we invite you to join us for that. Until then, I'm Pat Patterson. Have a great week, everybody. See you next time.